What is up, everybody? We are back with our team reviews, and we're on to the Los Angeles Rams. The Rams won the Super Bowl a couple of years ago, looked terrible last year. What do we expect from the Rams this year, Dad? Are they going to be just another maybe slightly competitive but non-playoff team? Is that what you're expecting?
I expect that. Their main problem last year offensively was their offensive line. So Stafford got his brains beat in, kind of like what was happening in Detroit before he came to the Rams. So if they get their offensive line fixed, they'll be a little more productive offensively, with their receivers and running backs.
Yep, definitely. I mean, team sold out to win a Super Bowl. They won their Super Bowl. They shouldn't be disappointed at all. They knew what they were doing, trading draft picks and paying everybody all they could. And this is where you kind of find yourself 2 years later. That's how it turned so quickly. Stafford, I honestly thought there was a chance he would retire. And you won your Super Bowl, you got your money, like kind of you're still getting beat up. And honestly, I can see that happening this year if he just like gets beat up again and he goes out for the year and just kind of calls it quits. I wouldn't be surprised. But we'll get into the quarterbacks, obviously, or to the depth chart. Again, this is from a redraft perspective. Half PPR is what we look at. We'll throw in regular football. We'll throw in dynasty. The routine. So we're looking at the quarterback position here, and we have, of course, Matthew Stafford, who was not good last year when he played. Obviously, you mentioned it. Terrible offensive line. Even and then Cooper Kupp going out doesn't help at all. But what I will say is Matthew Stafford in 2021 was a top 5 quarterback. A little bit of a down year for quarterbacks overall, but he was still top 5. And then by average, he was right around top 10. He threw for 40 touchdowns. Dad, can we see that Stafford again? Is there any chance we get back to mid-30s, 4,500 yards Stafford where he's at least start worthy? Or is it?
Yeah, and like I said, offensive line and stuff like that. There's some players there, wide receiver wise. There's 2 guys, that he's been with, Kupp and Van Jefferson, the running back. There should be some familiar stuff there. There should be somebody backing up Cam Akers that should make it all relevant. But, it comes down Tyler Higbee, another guy. I mean, all these guys, they've all kind of been there a few years, so geez, it's the rest of the team, the rest of offense has to be worth something. So, but I could see it. Yeah, back to the original question. Absolutely, I could see him, in the high 30s in touchdowns and 4,500 yards, and he's always put up pretty big numbers.
Yeah. It's funny. He's currently being drafted as the QB 21, which is basically people saying he's worthless in a 1 QB league. He's going behind Bryce Young and Brock Purdy. It's like, man, look how fast he's fallen, right? Like, I could see it too. Here's what I think of Stafford. I think Stafford's going to be a quarterback that is going to be constantly used during people's bye weeks. When people have their bye weeks for their main guys, Stafford's going to be one of the guys they pick up if he has a good matchup, and he's going to maybe give you 18 points, and that's that. I don't know if he can get back to that. He can get in the top 12 for sure, but I think it is more likely he's more like a 30 touchdown guy than a 35 or 40 touchdown guy. If you want to take a shot on him, that's fine. If you want him to be your QB2, that's fine. Like, I think that's kind of what he deserves to be at this point. Don't draft him as your QB1. I think there's kind of better options out there. The Jared Goffs, the Geno Smiths, the Daniel Jones. These guys, I think, are a little bit better of an option as of now. So, But yeah, I mean, not much to talk about besides Stafford in the quarterback room. The running back room, you have Cam Akers, who won people leagues last year by just going absolutely. It's such a weird year last year. The guy coming off an Achilles, he came back and played in the playoffs. Didn't look good. The same year that he tore his Achilles, what was it? 6 months later, he's playing in the playoffs. Didn't look good. Because I think he came back. People were very in on him last year in fantasy drafts. He was being taken in the 5th round or so. Played terribly or looked terrible his first few games. And then it comes out that there's some coaching issues there, or there's some relationships with the coach issues. And then you get sleeper updates saying it's Cam Akers has played his last down with the Rams. And then he comes back. And then he dominates the last 3 weeks. He puts up 118, 123, 104 yards while scoring 3 touchdowns over those last 3 games. The guy was just a league winner. So now we're back to Cam Akers, where he's being drafted as the RB23, and he's being basically at the end of round 5. Dad, are you in on Cam Akers as your RB2? Are you comfortable with Akers as your RB2?
I'm not, maybe as RB3. I'm just telling you where I fit him in. I would look elsewhere. Of course, if he's running back 1 for the Los Angeles Rams, he should put up some decent numbers. But even before he got injured, I thought he was okay. I didn't think he was lights out or anything like that. Again, what's going to make this backfield go for the Rams? It's got to be somebody behind him, who's got to help out and stuff like that. And of course, we all know offensive line, but
yeah, he feels like. Yeah, it was his rookie year, and we've seen Cam Akers in 2 3-game stretches look good. Last year, the last 3 weeks, and then his rookie year, I guess it was a 4-week stretch, 4 out of 5 weeks, where he had 20-plus carries, and in 4 games he put up 350 yards and a touchdown. Yeah. So we haven't seen a whole season from him. I'll tell you this. I kind of agree with you. Okay, I'm okay with him as my RB2 if I'm taking him in round 7, and I went very heavy on the receiver, or I took my quarterback early or my tight end early, and I don't think I want to take him in round 5 as my RB2. I think I'm with you there. There's a couple guys that I think should be going before him. James Conner, Miles Sanders. These guys are going pretty close to him. David Montgomery is another guy. Even if you want to throw in a Rashad White or DeAndre Swift, but definitely a Dobbins, Sanders, Connor, Montgomery, maybe Javonte Williams if he looks good in the preseason. All these guys should be going over Akers in my opinion, and they're all kind of going right around him. So he's one of those, if I can get him at a round discount, and then I'm kind of in. If he's my RB3, I'm a little more excited because you can kind of afford him not being great. But we have seen elite levels, so a very interesting player this year. But I think I'm with you. I think I'm out on the round 5 type of thing. Go ahead.
I just kind of bagged on the guy, but last year, he did play 15 games. He carried the ball 188 times. So when you get close to 200 carries, you're doing okay. He had almost 800 yards and 7 touchdowns. So I guess I was kind of surprised. I would have said, he had about 500 yards or something like that. And
a lot of it's because of, a third of those carries came in 3 games, and 350. Yeah, his last 3 games is what we're talking about, where he went off. He had 63 carries in those 3 games, and so you do the math. That's a third of his carries. 350 of those yards came in those of his 800 almost game. So it was really that big stretch. Yeah. Yeah, it's tough. He's a tough player. There's a lot of risk there. I don't like taking that much risk with my 5th-round pick when I don't have to. When I can get guys like I said, James Conner, David Montgomery, Miles Sanders, or even a receiver as like a DJ Moore or a Jerry Jeudy, which there's a little risk there, of course, or Mike Williams. Like I'm probably in on those guys a little bit more. So that's kind of where I'm at with Akers. If I can get him late sixth or later, I'm in. Not in the 5th round. So, like you mentioned, Dad, there probably needs to be a backup. Kyron Williams, Zach Evans, Royce Freeman's there. I don't really know. I guess Kyron Williams, him being 2 years now, and Zach Evans is a rookie. Zach Evans was a major high school recruit that just never panned out in college. So there's a reason for that, I think. I don't know. I really don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. If you were gonna ask me about these backups, I would have said I have no idea. But I always like rookie running backs. So it seems like. Sorry about the dogs in the background. They like to wrestle around, but I always like rookie running backs. So
yeah,
but that's not good for a redraft. I know you want people that are going to give you something this year. You don't want them just sitting there, scratching their rear end, waiting for you to put them in. But we do know guys, all of a sudden they show up, week 6, week 8, week 9. But that's tough. That's tough business to operate a fantasy league like that.
Yeah, and if you were to ask me who, like you said, who should you take, my response would be watch the preseason and see what shapes.
Right.
Who's second street? Who's coming in after Cam Akers? Who's looking good? Because it could be either one of these guys, to be honest. Hell, it could even be Royce Freeman for all we know. So. Into the receivers, obviously we have Cooper Kupp. Little injury concern, hamstring. We just did the Chargers. We talked about how a hamstring sidelined Keenan Allen for 7 weeks. Hamstrings can be no joke. You need to basically do nothing in order for them to recover. You can't play on them. So a little concerning. If you're drafting right now, I think I have to move Cooper Kupp down a bit. I had a chance to take him in a draft that I'm doing, I think at 6 overall. And Tyreek Hill was there. I went with Tyreek Hill because of the Cooper Kupp thing. Had Cooper Kupp not had that injury, I probably would have gone Cooper Kupp. I've been on record as saying I'm fine with him being the number 1 receiver being taken because everyone talks about Justin Jefferson. But Cooper Kupp was better than Justin Jefferson last year, and it wasn't even really close. Cooper Kupp last year, let me see. I'm just pulling it up.
He was
18.2 points, so he averaged 0.3 more points. So it was closer. Sorry, real quick, and I'll let you talk.
Go ahead.
If you take out the Week 10 game where he got hurt, that was the week he got hurt. Cooper Kupp averaged. Looks like a 2.2 points more than Justin Jefferson. So go ahead, Dad. You're coughing. I'll keep talking. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. His number 1 season, obviously his Triple Crown season, like this was a season that we've never seen before. Essentially, he averaged 21.6 points as the top receiver in a half PPR league. Just for reference. Justin Jefferson, number 1 receiver last year, averaged 17.9. So Cooper Kupp averaged almost 4 more points a game. They were both wide receiver 1. That's how good Cooper Kupp was in 2021. That's how good he was in 2022. So I was fine with him being the number 1 overall player until this injury. How do you feel, Dad? Cooper Kupp? Is the injury scare you a bit? Obviously, most people aren't drafting for 3 more weeks. But
no, he doesn't scare me. I don't think the hamstring thing. I shouldn't say it's maybe not a big deal. I'm sure glad it happened in early August.
Yes.
How severe it is, who knows? Maybe they just use it as an excuse to, sit the guy for a few weeks or something like that. We'll see. We'll see if he comes back in the latter part of training camp. Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't, but it's something to pay attention to. I had him on a team last year that was doing very well, of course, and he got hurt. I'm pretty sure he was wide receiver 1 until he got hurt. He was scoring big.
Yeah, no, that's what I was. Yeah, he was 2 points better than Justin Jefferson.
Oh, okay. I
Up
thought
until he
that
got-
was from the year before, but
No, last year. I mean, year before he was 4 points better. Like the guy was insane last year. He had 75 catches in essentially 8.5 games. 75 catches in basically a half a season. That's insane. Like that's 150 catches basically if he played all year. He had 800 yards in half a season. Do the math. He was on pace for 150 catches, 1,600 yards, 12 touchdowns. The guy's a stud. Watch the hamstring, something to monitor. Like you said, it's good. It happened in early August. He doesn't need training camp, and he obviously has a relationship with Stafford and everything, so he doesn't need all the training camp stuff. But if it lingers, and like I said, if you're drafting now, you have to keep that in mind. Like the hamstrings can knock you out for, we saw it with Keenan Allen, 7 weeks. So definitely a concern. I don't know. Besides that, is there anyone else you're excited about on this receiving core, Dad?
Maybe Van Jefferson way down the road,
Yeah.
just because he's been there.
Yeah.
I don't know about the Skokanarkic or whatever his name is.
Skoranek.
Yeah, Skoranek. The Puka Nakua.
Yeah.
He's had some training camp hype, and stuff like that. So the other guy,
Yeah.
Tutu, I've heard is a bust or something, but I don't know.
There's not much here. That's the
No,
problem.
there's not. Van Jefferson, just because last year he had 2 knee surgeries. So he had a knee surgery like in the off season, and then I think he got to training camp. Something happened again. They need to clean it up, and so he missed. So he wasn't right last year. So somebody else has got to catch the ball an okay number of times. So
Yeah, that's 100% true. I mean, yeah, Skoranek was okay there, just, getting 4 or 5 catches and 60 yards.
wasn't
a
he
couple
Baker's
games.
boy? Baker Mayfield?
Yeah, I think he was. But like you mentioned, Van Jefferson, a little bit intriguing. He finished 2021. He's been in the league. This will be his 4th year. He didn't do much his first year. Got hurt last year. In the offseason, in the preseason too, he was, like you said, the knee stuff. So he played in a bunch of games, but just obviously wasn't healthy. But in 2021, 50 catches, 800 yards, 6 touchdowns. That was good enough for wide receiver 35. So he was basically like a spot starter during bye weeks and stuff. I don't know. There's all these guys you can essentially get for free. They're not being drafted. I think Cooper Kupp's the only one being drafted. Puka Nakua has some hype, like you said. Tutu Atwell, 2nd round receiver, kind of a bust. So, which makes me more excited about the next guy in Tyler Higbee, because we don't know who the second option on this team is. It very well could be Tyler Higbee, who I think he might have been the number 1 targeted receiver last year. Cooper Kupp may have had more. No, I think Higbee was their number 1 targeted receiver last year. 108 targets, 72 catches, 620 yards, 3 touchdowns. I can see that again from Higbee. He's a guy that I really like, just because we talked about Gerald Everett last video, and I like Gerald Everett. I think he's a little bit more talented than Higbee, but fact of the matter is Gerald Everett is at best the 4th option on that team. Higbee could be the number 2 guy. Dad, are you okay with Higbee as your number 1 tight end? He did finish, I think, tight end 7 last year, for reference.
If I'm in a fantasy draft and I'm stuck getting a tight end late, late in the draft and stuff like that. Higbee is the guy I'm looking for,
Hmm.
So again, as I pointed out, Higbee's been there a number of years. I know Stafford, he's in his third year and stuff like that, but he's got familiarity with the offense and stuff like that. So yeah, he caught 72 passes last year. Problem is, it was only 3 touchdowns, but anyway, I like Tyler Higbee, and I think that's a guy I'm looking for.
You know what I don't get is Tyler Higbee's stats look almost exactly identical to Evan Ingram's breakout year, biggest year last year. Evan Ingram, 73 catches, Tyler Higbee, 72. Evan Ingram, 760 yards, Tyler Higbee, 620. So 140 more yards. That's 14 points. That's less than a point a game. Tyler Higbee, 3 touchdowns. Evan Ingram, 4 touchdowns. They literally had almost identical stats. Yet, you look at fantasy drafts this year, if you want Evan Ingram, you have to take him in the 8th round. If you want Tyler Higbee, you can wait till round 13. And
Wow.
You're getting almost, and this is where it comes to if you don't get Travis Kelce or Mark Andrews, if you want to throw in like a Hawkinson, a third guy in there, fine. But there's not a lot of difference between these big names you hear, these Evan Ingrams versus Tyler Higbees versus Gerald Everett's. There's just not enough difference to justify a 6 or 7 round difference in ADP. So I agree with you. I'm all in on Higbee. He's going as tight end 16, which means you play in a 12-team league. Not many people are going to be taking 2 tight ends, maybe a couple, but you can wait till everyone takes their tight end, and then you can take Higbee. So yeah, I 100% agree. And we always talk about it. You kind of need to be, you need one of 3 things. You need to be the number 1 target on your team, like a Kelce or Andrews. You need to be a number 2 target on your team, like a Hawkinson, Pat Freiermuth, maybe. I'm trying to think of another one. Or you need to catch a bunch of touchdowns / be explosive, like a George Kittle or like a Robert Tonyan 2020 year where he was like tight end 3 because he caught 10 touchdowns. Higbee could be the number 2 option. So I like him. I really do. And yeah, I'm not going to spend up on the, and Pat Freiermuth is another guy. I like Pat Freiermuth. I think he's a good player. But you look at his stats, and Higbee's, he had more catches. He had about 50 more yards than Higbee, 1 less touchdown, right? But Pat Freiermuth, you have to take 70 picks before him. So it's crazy. Anything else to add? I mean, there's nothing else. Pretty easy team. It's Cooper Kupp. We like Cam Akers. Maybe if we can get a value. Stafford, QB2, Higbee, we're all in on, kind of, right?
Yeah, they'll be lucky to win 7 games. So
yeah, tough division. But yeah, that's it today. As always, if you could like the video and subscribe. We're getting close. I think we're less than 30 days to kick off. We'll kind of be here all year long, helping you, fantasy advice, whatever you need. And our next video, we're on to the Miami